Hello, my name is Hans George Campbell. Welcome to part 4 of my Amiga 1000 repair and refurbishing series of videos. In this episode, I'm going to finish putting the Amiga 1000 computer together, and I'm going to set up the computer out here in the shop, and I'm going to show you some programs. I'm also going to show you a custom workbench disk that I created back in the late 80s. I used to use this custom workbench way back then, and so for me it's very nostalgic, and it's a really cool looking workbench, and I thought I'd show it to you guys. So yeah, let's get going. Okay. Something that I forgot to do in the last video, when I put the top shield on, I forgot that I had to first plug in the power LED. I was thinking that I could plug it in afterwards, that the connector would be easily accessible, but no, it's not. You have to plug in this power LED before you install the shield, the top shield. Also, there is a hole in the motherboard toward the front here where you slip a wire tie, a nylon wire tie through that, and you wire tie the disk drive LED wire or cable. It has to lay on top of the motherboard but underneath the disk drive. And you slip a wire tie through that hole, and you wire tie the LED wires to the top of the motherboard. But it has to be underneath the disk drive. So, yeah. Okay. So now it's time to install the front. And the front, as you can see, it turned out really good when I washed it in the sink. I use a mixture of like Dawn dishwashing liquid with a little bit of Comet or Ajax cleanser, and I mix it really good in warm water, and I fill up the sink. You know, don't be lazy, fill up the sink and really give these parts a good bath. And yeah, the Dawn dishwashing liquid gets rid of any grease buildup, whatever, that might be in the plastic or whatever. And the Comet, or the Ajax mixed in, it helps dull the finish back to its natural matte finish. It's supposed to be, not supposed to be so glossy. It's supposed to be a little bit more matted. The glossiness of the plastic should be toned down. And so that's what the Comet does, that I mix in with the Dawn dishwashing liquid and the warm water. And as you can see, it makes it look pretty nice. It's almost like new again, you know. I'm real happy with the way it turned out. None of these clips here are broken, which is really good. Yeah, it's really good. These are usually broken because they put in the wrong size screw underneath here and it breaks these. I'll talk more about that in a moment when I talk about installing the top cover of the Amiga 1000. So, okay, let's go ahead and put this on. I'm going to go ahead and move the computer down a little bit so that you can better see what I'm doing. You want to lay this down like that. Okay, and here's the drive LED. It's keyed. It plugs into here. Okay, and then that got to be real careful that you don't break that little clip off on the end of the plastic. And it breaks real easy. Just, you know, pop that in. Don't go crazy with it. So that's popped in. The clip just pops in. And the LED just pops in the clip. Same thing on this one. Don't go crazy. Just, you know, there you go. That's all you need to do. Alright? And then you carefully, well, you gotta like put that, I think this goes, this is always a pain in the ass trying to get this in here. But just as long as it doesn't interfere with the eject button, okay, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, just make sure it goes in there. And that, yeah, it's usually on the side here. That's fine, like that. That's fine, right there. Yeah. Yep, that's fine. And the top cover, hold it on. There's screws that go in underneath. I'll show you all that in a moment. One of the things that can be done to help hold that on is to plug in the Commodore 256K memory expansion. This becomes part of the chip memory of the Amiga 1000. Now what I did was I removed this from that heavy RF shield because it puts a lot of weight on that card edge connector, because this is a real thin motherboard. I don't want to take chances on breaking that card edge connector by having it snap off or crease or whatever. So I would recommend removing this board from that RF shield and just plug in the board. It's a lot lighter. It goes in a lot better. You don't really need to screw it in, you know, because it holds it firmly in place. And that's what I do. And then you just plug this baby in. Maybe hold on the back of the Amiga 1000. And just, you know, plug that in. That'll help hold that front piece on. And I might actually go ahead and put on these little screws too. These are the screws that was in this when it was in the shield. So I could go ahead and put those on. It'll be fine, I think. Okay, that's that. I don't think these are long enough because they're just barely going into that metal. Yeah, it's not even screwing in. It's not going in. I don't know what the hell is going on with that, but it's not going in. Yeah, it's not really going in. I mean, yeah, I'm going to pull these back out. They're not really going into that metal. So I really don't think they're long enough. I think Commodore, these screws are a little bit too short. They should have been like about, at least about 1/8 of an inch longer. Because just barely the point, rather, is just barely gripping on that metal part. So they should have been about 1/8 of an inch longer, you know. So I won't be using those. Anyway, it's in there. I mean, it's not going to come out. It's in there pretty good. I mean, it's not going to come out. Okay, now, after I come back from a real quick coffee break, I want to talk about the top cover, something very important that I've discovered about the top cover. And you really need to pay attention to this. You need to listen to what I'm going to say about the top cover. And that's coming up next. Alrighty. Let's talk about this top cover. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit more, because I really need for you to see this what I'm talking about here. Alright. What I would recommend doing as far as the top cover is when you remove these screws that holds on the top cover to the Amiga 1000 computer, when you take the cover off, put these screws back in to this cover to make sure that these are the screws that go back into the cover. I'll explain why. Let me remove one of them and I'll show you something. All right. This is the screw. These are the screws that are supposed to go into the top cover. Okay. This is the other type of screws. The other screws that go into the Amiga 1000. And if you notice, unless you have them side by side, they look very similar. So do not get these mixed up. If you try to attach the top cover using this screw here, you will bust those standoffs on the top cover. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Because they're a little bit bigger in diameter. You know, the head's a little bit bigger. Okay? So don't use this. This is a common mistake. I've repaired a lot of Amiga 1000 computers through the years, okay? And one of the things that I have noticed on just about all of them, the posts on the top cover are busted because the owner of the Amiga 1000 computer that I'm working on, that I'm servicing, okay, they used the wrong screw when they screwed on the top cover. They got them mixed up. And then they wondered why the screws that went into the other areas of the Amiga 1000, they were too loose because they were too small. They were the wrong size. Okay, so do not get these screws mixed up. Don't get them mixed up. Okay, I'll show you what happens to the cover if you get them mixed up. This is what happens. As you can see, that post is broken clean off, busted clean off. Because somebody put in the wrong screw and they probably used a full-size screwdriver like this, and they really, you know, forced it in there and they broke that post. That's another reason why you don't use a full-size number 2 like this. Because it should not ever require that kind of force to put these screws in. If it does, something's wrong. You probably got the wrong size screw. And that's one of the reasons why I always recommend when you're working on vintage computers like this, where especially where you have metal screws going in the plastic, that you use a low torque number 2 screwdriver like this one. Alright. Yeah, I thought that it was important that I show you guys that, because I don't want you guys breaking the posts on your Amiga 1000 cover. And to make sure you don't get the screws mixed up with the other ones, as soon as you remove the top cover, put those screws back into the top cover. They should go in real easy, just like this. If they don't, something's wrong. You should never have to force them in, ever. For some reason that one's stuck. It doesn't want to come out of there. Yeah, for some reason it doesn't want to Doesn't want to come out. Okay, after I take these screws out, I'll come back. I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, I did some of this assembly. I didn't realize that I didn't press the record button, so I'm sorry about that. I didn't get that footage. But all I did was I put the front cover on, I put these screws in, and I talked about not over tightening these, okay? And you put these screws in, don't over tighten those. And so I got these tight. So now I'm tightening the ones in the back. Okay, that one's tight. Okay, that one's tight. You just want to snug these, do not over tighten them. Just snug them. Do not over tighten. And that's the reason for using a low torque number 2 screwdriver like this. Never use a full-size number 2 screwdriver like this. Never. Okay, so that's in there. I got these in there. I took feet off the second Amiga 1000 that I have. I'm just using it mainly for parts. Now, I don't know if this is going to fit here or not. I might want to just glue that on. Yeah, I'll put that foot on later. I'll take out this right here, and I'll put some double-sided sticky tape in there because I got extra feet, so I'll put a foot right there. Yeah. Okay, so the only thing left to do now is to flip the computer back over and yeah, make sure this is in there. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay. And then okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, Mr. Campbell. It does not have to be perfect, okay? Just semi-perfect is fine, alright? Alright. Okay. And now we've got to put this piece back on. I'm so happy that these tabs aren't broken, because they usually are broken. Yeah, let me make sure that this is plugged in really good, and it is. Okay. And so now these do have a habit of coming off of there. You know, they slip off real easy. So what I usually do on my own personal Amiga 1000, because this one here I'm keeping, like I said, I'm going to have it set up out here in the shop, and I will be using it. I'll actually be using it, and I'll be showing you guys a lot of software on the original Workbench 1.3. 1.3 has its charm. It's really cool. It really is. It has its charm. Okay, so what I like to do is to make sure that that doesn't come off all the damn time, and it will. I usually like to put a little piece of Kapton tape on there, just on the bottom, not on the top, because you don't really see the bottom. And the Kapton tape helps hold that in place. So, yeah. And it's a good tape. It's got good adhesion without being without being too adhesive, you know. And then I just put it, well, usually about like that. Yeah, just like that. That helps hold that in place so it doesn't fall off. Take a chance on breaking those tabs if it hits the floor the wrong way, you know. And there you go. I usually like to also put a piece in the center. Yeah, I like to put a little piece in the center. Right about, you know, right about like that. And there you go. That'll help keep that in place. Yeah, that'll help keep that in place, keep it from falling off. And, yeah. Yep. And that should stay on there pretty nice. Keep them coming off. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up this computer out here in the shop, and I'll be right back.